Imagine if every night your brain activated a powerful maintenance system. A system designed to wash away the biological residue of an entire day of thinking. A system that removes metabolic waste, inflammatory molecules, and toxic proteins from the delicate tissue of the brain. And imagine that this process determines how clearly you think the next day, how well you remember information, and possibly even how your brain ages over decades. This system exists. It is called the glymphatic system, and it works almost entirely while you sleep. But here is the remarkable part. The efficiency of this system is not fixed. It can be strengthened or weakened by everyday behaviors that influence sleep quality, circadian rhythms, and brain physiology. In this final video of our series, we are going to explore something extremely practical. How to optimize the brain's nightly cleaning cycle, not through complicated interventions, but through a set of biological principles that allow the brain to perform the maintenance process it evolved to perform. To understand how to enhance this process, we first need to remember the conditions that allow glymphatic cleaning to occur. The system activates most strongly during slow-wave sleep, the deepest stage of sleep. During this stage, neurons reduce their activity and brain cells shrink slightly. This creates microscopic channels between cells. Cerebrospinal fluid then flows through these channels, flushing metabolic waste out of neural tissue. But the strength of this process depends on several physiological factors: sleep depth, circadian timing, blood vessel pulsation, fluid dynamics within the brain, and surprisingly, even sleeping posture. Each of these factors influences how effectively the brain cleans itself. Let's begin with one of the most powerful regulators of brain cleaning: body temperature. The human brain enters deep sleep most efficiently when core body temperature begins to decline. This drop in temperature is part of the circadian rhythm. As evening approaches, the brain prepares the body for sleep by gradually lowering internal temperature. This cooling helps initiate slow-wave sleep. But modern environments often disrupt this process. Heated homes, artificial lighting, late-night activity, these factors can prevent the natural decline in body temperature that signals the brain to enter deep sleep. One way to support this transition is through temperature regulation. A slightly cool sleeping environment often improves sleep quality. Studies have shown that bedrooms maintained around 18 to 20 degrees Celsius support deeper sleep for many individuals. Another interesting technique involves warm showers or baths before bedtime. Although this may sound counterintuitive, warm water actually helps the body cool down afterward. Heat causes blood vessels in the skin to dilate, allowing heat to leave the body more efficiently. As the body cools after the shower, the brain interprets the temperature drop as a signal to initiate sleep. This simple physiological response can enhance the likelihood of entering slow-wave sleep. Another fascinating factor influencing glymphatic flow is sleeping posture. Researchers studying cerebrospinal fluid movement in the brain have discovered that sleeping on one side may improve fluid circulation compared with sleeping on the back. In animal studies, lateral sleeping positions appeared to facilitate more efficient glymphatic drainage. Although human research is still developing, the anatomical explanation is compelling. When lying on the side, gravitational forces may help cerebrospinal fluid move through perivascular channels more effectively. This position may also support better circulation through the veins that help remove waste from the brain. While sleeping posture alone does not determine brain detox efficiency, it represents another example of how subtle physical factors can influence the brain's internal environment. Next, we need to discuss the role of circadian timing. The circadian rhythm is the internal biological clock that synchronizes sleep and wake cycles with the light-dark cycle of the environment. This clock resides in a small region of the brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. When circadian rhythms are aligned with natural light cycles, sleep becomes more efficient. Slow-wave sleep appears earlier in the night. Hormones such as melatonin rise and fall at predictable times, and the architecture of sleep cycles remains stable. But irregular schedules can disrupt this timing. Late nights, shift work, frequent travel across time zones. These patterns confuse the circadian clock. When the brain cannot predict when sleep will occur, it may delay or shorten deep sleep stages. And when slow-wave sleep declines, glymphatic cleaning becomes less effective. One of the simplest ways to support circadian alignment is consistency. Going to sleep and waking at similar times each day helps stabilize the circadian clock. Morning sunlight exposure also plays an important role. Natural light signals the brain that a new circadian cycle has begun. This exposure helps regulate melatonin timing later in the evening. Hydration also influences the environment in which brain cleaning occurs. Cerebrospinal fluid is primarily composed of water. It circulates through the ventricles of the brain and flows along blood vessels, mixing with interstitial fluid to carry waste away from neurons. Although the brain tightly regulates fluid balance, chronic dehydration can affect circulation and cellular function throughout the body. Adequate hydration supports cardiovascular function and helps maintain optimal blood flow. Because vascular pulsation helps drive glymphatic movement, healthy circulation indirectly supports the brain's cleaning system. Physical activity is another factor, strongly associated with improved sleep quality. Exercise increases blood flow. It enhances vascular health, and it promotes the release of signaling molecules that influence brain plasticity. But exercise also has a profound effect on sleep. Individuals who engage in regular physical activity often experience deeper sleep cycles. Slow-wave sleep becomes more pronounced, and sleep onset occurs more quickly. These changes create an environment that supports glymphatic activity. However, timing matters. Intense exercise immediately before bedtime can increase alertness. For many people, exercise earlier in the day supports better sleep later at night. Now let's explore a factor that often receives less attention: mental decompression before sleep. The brain transitions into slow-wave sleep most efficiently when neural activity begins to calm. But modern habits often produce the opposite effect. Late-night news consumption, work emails, social media stimulation, intense emotional content. These activities keep neural networks highly active just before bedtime. High neural activity delays the shift into the slower brainwave patterns associated with deep sleep. Creating a calming pre-sleep routine helps the brain transition toward slow-wave activity. Reading, gentle stretching, meditation, quiet conversation. These practices allow neural circuits to gradually reduce their activity. This shift supports the brain's transition into deep sleep and activates the cleaning cycle. Nutrition may also influence sleep physiology. Heavy meals late in the evening stimulate digestive activity. Blood flow shifts toward the gastrointestinal system. Hormonal signals related to metabolism remain elevated. These processes can delay sleep onset and reduce sleep quality. Eating earlier in the evening allows digestion to complete before the brain enters sleep cycles. This creates a calmer physiological state that supports deeper sleep. Certain nutrients also appear to influence sleep regulation. Magnesium, for example, plays a role in neurotransmitter function and muscle relaxation. Although diet alone cannot guarantee deep sleep, balanced nutrition supports the broader metabolic systems that regulate sleep physiology. Another key factor is light exposure. Morning sunlight is one of the most powerful regulators of circadian rhythm. When light enters the eyes, specialized cells in the retina send signals directly to the brain's circadian clock. This signal resets the internal timer. It informs the brain that daytime has begun, and approximately 16 hours later, the brain begins preparing for sleep. Even brief morning exposure to natural light can strengthen circadian rhythms. Conversely, bright light late at night delays melatonin production. Reducing artificial light exposure in the evening supports the natural rise of melatonin that prepares the brain for deep sleep. Perhaps the most important message of all is this: the brain's cleaning system is not an emergency repair mechanism. It is a daily maintenance cycle. Every day your brain generates waste. Every night your brain must remove it. When sleep is sufficient and deep, this system functions quietly in the background. When sleep becomes fragmented or insufficient, the consequences accumulate slowly. Brain fog, fatigue, reduced concentration. Over years or decades, inefficient waste removal may contribute to long-term neurological changes. The discovery of the glymphatic system has changed how scientists think about sleep. Sleep is not merely a period of inactivity. It is a dynamic physiological state in which critical biological processes occur. Memory consolidation, hormonal regulation, immune system activity, and the cleansing of neural tissue. The brain is performing maintenance while consciousness rests. When we prioritize sleep, we are not losing time. We are investing in the brain's ability to function. The clarity of thought we experience tomorrow depends on what happens inside the brain tonight. Every night offers an opportunity for renewal, an opportunity for the brain to clear away the residue of waking life, to restore balance, to prepare for another day of learning, creativity, and awareness. Understanding this system invites us to view sleep differently. Not as an inconvenience, not as wasted time, but as one of the most powerful biological processes protecting the brain. A nightly reset, a silent cleaning cycle that preserves the organ responsible for every memory, idea, and experience we possess. And perhaps one of the most remarkable discoveries of modern neuroscience. Your brain cleans itself every night, if you allow it to.